Do you like?
Video games.
Do you like?
Anime.
Play this game!
Just to preface here, even though this is a dated re-release of an already old game from 2008, I don't want to ruin the game for anyone potentially experiencing the game for the first time. So I'm going to do my absolute best to avoid any specific spoilers when necessary. I want you to play this game. And you should play this game. Persona 4 Golden features an engaging story with deep relatable characters, a vibrant and colorful world to explore, and a fantastic soundtrack. You take on the role of a high school student who moves to the town to live with their uncle while their parents are working overseas for the year. However, soon after arriving in the town, you realize something is off. That's because mysterious murders began taking place, and you are tasked with solving the mystery of who the killer is behind them. So, if we're talking RPGs, then of course we're going to have dungeons, and of course bad guys are in dungeons. In this game, the bad guys are called shadows. They're little blobby things roaming around that represent an enemy and won't show their true form until battle occurs. How does battle occur? By getting them or getting got yourself. Having this freedom over encounters rules because if you're over battling, you get to pretend to be in the NFL for a few minutes. P4G's combat system isn't too innovative if you're a seasoned RPG player, I'm not one of them, but the biggest standouts of its combat system come from the one more, cavalry attacks, and all-out attacks. One more allows you to gain an extra turn with the character you just used to attack. It's granted when you get a critical hit, or attacking an enemy's elemental weakness. Doing either of these things will knock the enemy down, so they will be unable to fight back. Cavalry attacks are attacks from characters not in the party. These usually are a follow-up to powerful attacks that either hit critically or just knock down the enemy. We've just mentioned knocking down the enemy as a benefit twice now, and you might be wondering what the purpose is. It's to let you initiate the all-out attack. The all-out attack is a physical attack that uses all of your active party members at once to attack enemies. This is often what can be used to deal a lot of damage and even finish most average fights outright. Persona 4 Golden is a rebalance and reimagining of the original Persona 4 back on the PS2, but that's not to say it'll be a pushover. You'll need to balance both your RPG life and boring school life effectively. Every dungeon has a deadline, how many in-game calendar days that pass before it's game over. It sounds odd for a dungeon to have an expiration date like it's made out of cheese, but if you play the game, you'll know why. So what do you do outside of combat and dungeons and all that? Usually just normie shit, like go to school, hang out with friends, work part-time, want your plans, buy drinking the vending machine, sleep. These things all seem pretty one-dimensional until you realize everything done in normie mode affects a dungeon mode. For example, you've gone to school, made a new friend, and hung out like once or twice. They'll now take a fucking bullet for you in dungeons. Going to school and studying can affect who you can talk to and what about. The pace of the game is dictated by how you spend your time. This is fairly unique and valuable for different kinds of players or playthroughs of the game. Already beat that part? Confident you've done everything you need to do and just waiting for the next story beat? There's a fast forward button to speed through all the dialogue. It'll still pause for you to make choices, so don't be in too much of a rush. Speaking of narrative, the narrative on the whole is actually really good. It just has one glaringly bad spot. You'll probably have a better idea on what's going on before your party members do ahead of time. Not to mention that the most clever and plot-advancing party member shows up dead last, to the very last person to join. Slightly different to the fast forward button, the auto button is also fantastic for really engaging with the story, because you can put down the controller, have a sip of your preferred beverage, and relax a little. Pay attention though, because the story won't advance if a character asks you a question or something like that. You'll still have to make a decision there. Despite being anime as fuck, this game does not do the whole power of friendship thing that you've heard in games and anime stereotypes before, or at least not in the way that you think. Characters in this game aren't just exactly insert trope here and catchphrase there. They're flawed. They have parts of themselves they wish no one to see, and a large part of them even becoming a part of your team involves them facing and accepting the parts of themselves they hate and moving past it. This is how they gain the titular persona, a symbol of embodiment of their inner strength and identity. This may lead you to wonder, what is the player character's persona? The easy answer to this is Izanagi, who comes complete with cool jacket, giant knife, and cock plate. This is hardly spoilers, but seeing as Yu is meant to represent the player, Yu Narukami is his name, you kind of just get him in an early event. The game doesn't want to make any bad assumptions about the player or their life after all, so... The more complicated answer is... complicated. You start with Izanagi, but as the story's wild card, you can actually wield many personas. You can swap between them at will, and there's also another unique system at play here. Rather than simple evolution or learning skills forever, Persona 4 has fusion. Here you can combine multiple personas together to form a new one, along with being able to choose which skills to inherit from the fusion material. Useful if you're wanting a lot of type element coverage, or hate switching persona mid-combat just to use the one move. This is exclusive to the player character only, so learn everyone's strengths and weaknesses, please. I could go on, but if there's one thing about this game that makes me feel like a Chad, it's the flexibility. Unless you're getting advice from GameFAQs or other places on the net, chances are everyone's playthrough of the game, especially their first, will be totally different. You'll have different stats, relationships, different skills, different personas, and potentially different endings. So if you're ever feeling a little empty and want some lighthearted humor, realistic problems, interesting combat, and the most simultaneously incomprehensible and vibrant soundtrack ever, pick up Persona 4 Golden to become a Chad like me today! Seriously, it goes on sale a bunch and it's already really cheap, please play it already.